and everyone watching. Welcome to the December Infrastructure Oversight Board meeting here in Burbank. And we will start off with the flag salute. Great, thank you, everyone. Could we proceed with the roll call?
Armin Abazian.
Here.
Maria Coronado.
Here.
Shane Weber.
Here.
Colin Hoffmeister is currently absent. Jean Schonberger.
Here.
And Linda Besson.
Here, thank you. Do we have any announcements?
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, good to see you again. As you probably know, at the last City Council meeting, the City Council relieved Mr. Cotaverdian of his services to the board, and for the public and for you to encourage people you know that would be good to join the team. Applications are open through December 27th. And that was it for me.
Thank you. And do we have any public comment tonight? No public comment. Okay, and no one on the phone for public comment? No, right, thank you. So we will move to the consent calendar.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
noting the presence of Mr. Hoffmeister.
welcome. Sorry I'm late. No problem.
No problem.
We're hearing tonight that Mr. Berkman has some work to do. So the consent calendar for approval of the minutes of the IOB meeting held on October 24th, 2024. The recommendation is that we approve the minutes. Do we have a motion for that?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Ms. Coronado, any second?
I'll second.
Great, thank you. Please call for the vote.
Armin Abazian.
Yes.
Maria Coronado.
Yes.
Shane Weber.
Yes.
Colin Hoffmeister.
Yes.
Jean Schonberger.
Yes.
And Linda Besson.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Great, thank you. And now we have a very interesting report to the board on an update for the new Burbank Central Library and Civic Center project.
Good evening again. Happy to provide this presentation. It's great to be before you tonight to have an update on the new Burbank Central Library and Civic Center project. As you may know, I provided this presentation to the library board at their November meeting and to council on November 19th, and it was received with enthusiastic support, so I'm happy to provide it to you tonight. That was my question. Where do I point it? Here or there? So we just celebrated the current library's 60th birthday as it was constructed in 1963. While it has served us well, the city has discussed and contemplated plans to modernize and expand the library in order to properly serve the community for over 30 years. Identifying it for renovation or replacement in 1989. Measure L was approved in 2003 to provide funding to replace the library contingent on securing a state library grant, but that grant was never realized. Also in 2003, there was a plan development for the Civic Center block for the library, community services building, and administrative services building, which was actually a bank office that went into service in 1966, but only CSB was completed before the plan development expired in 2018. Finance and management services staff moved into ASB in 2001, which was supposed to be temporary, with seismic and interior improvements completed in 2014, while the library had carpet replaced and was painted in 1982, with some electrical IT, and other required updates completed since then. For next. So for our history, in 2021, most of you probably remember, we did a vision study for the new central library that concluded that we were going to pursue new construction and not renovation of the existing library. We were looking at the upper CSB parking lot, Olive Glen Oaks area as a desired site, and we wanted to determine the financially feasible path forward. Now, in late 2022, we continued the community outreach process with 1,600 survey responses, several community meetings, committee, commission, and board meetings, as well as presentations and creating the project website, which we just updated again in July, which significantly increased site views over the summer. Since the last council update in 2023, there were several actions taken and work performed by consultants and staff, including the formation of an internal steering committee for the project comprised of staff from the city manager's office, city attorney's office, and the community development, library, finance, and public works departments. The consultants finalized an alternatives analysis, evaluations of housing opportunity sites, financial modeling, cost estimating, and project procurement and delivery options. We also completed a geotechnical or soils report and a phase 1 environmental site assessment in the CSB parking lot where the library is slated to be constructed. So our project goals: we're still looking to build a modern central library for our community, create a new open space for events and use by residents and visitors, encourage development of mixed use and mixed income housing on our opportunity sites, demonstrate our leadership in sustainability, and support downtown economic development. With all the work completed, the preferred project is still, as we see in this exhibit, with the new 65,000 square foot central library and 20,000 square feet of office space to replace ASB on the southeasterly portion of the block, and over 50,000 square feet of functional open space slated next to it where ASB is now. Several housing opportunity sites will be available in this configuration in accordance with the housing element update to the 2035 general plan, and will be considered as part of the downtown Burbank transit-oriented development specific plan that we anticipate bringing before the council this coming summer. You'll recall that we were considering the public-private partnership, or P3, that method of delivery for the project, due to the fact that private housing construction on the opportunity sites would provide a revenue source for potential concessionaire teams who would design both the civic and the private assets. That long-term revenue aspect for the private sector was the nexus for the city to gain an upfront funding source for the project and defer any project payments until the library was completed and in use. Since our last update in April 2023, there have been several economic factors that have made the P3 option less attractive for the project and potential bidders. And those include our rising construction costs due to high inflation, increased borrowing costs due to higher interest rates, housing operating costs per housing unit that were going up, and ultimately rents not able to keep up with all those rising costs. So in the end, we determined that the P3 method was no longer attractive to the industry without those private construction elements and the associated long-term revenue. So we're shifting away from that P3 delivery method and looking at the design-build procurement strategy as the way to get the project completed. You may recall that design-build was a key facet of the P3 delivery method. As I noted in the last slide, only the financing aspect of the P3 is removed. So with our design-build, we're still getting contracting only with a single design-build entity that has the risk transfer of design and construction services to it. It provides collaborative evaluation of construction and long-term costs versus our budget. Important to Public Works because we take care of all of our buildings, operations, and maintenance needs and impacts are considered early in design and all through design. And we definitely have early and continuous input from the community stakeholders and staff as we progress. So while we are unbundling, the word is the housing construction from the project itself, the long-term goals to construct housing in the future are still in sharp focus, especially with the upcoming completion of that downtown-specific plan, which will set the stage for the project and the opportunity sites development. Therefore, those revenue opportunities are still in play in the future. We also have the flexibility as to when we bring those additional housing units in the project area, and we can reduce the project cost and schedule without the need to design and construct those private improvements with the project. This also puts us in a better position to meet the $9.95 million state library grant deadline to construct certain elements of the new library by June 30th, 2027. So obviously, our eyes go directly to the bold cost line item here, where the forecasted cost for the project in 2027 dollars is at $147 million, with the breakdown, as you see on the screen. The one thing we'll be looking at in particular are the parking needs. Subterranean parking is very costly, and any reduction in the current requirements, which is about 220 spaces, as a result of Community Development Department's ongoing parking study and the specific plans, conclusions, and recommendations, will potentially reduce the number of spaces required and subsequently reduce that almost $30 million burden on the project. So also of note at the bottom are the past 5 years of annual operation and maintenance and future estimated capital costs for the existing Central Library and ASB, which stand at about 1.5 and 1.2 million each year. And those costs are related to utilities, custodial services, routine maintenance, and small capital improvement projects, as well as the long-term capital improvement projects that will be about 2 to 3 times those amounts over the next 5 years per our facility condition assessment reports that we recently completed. Obviously, with the current library and ASB removed from the facilities operation and maintenance and capital programs and replaced by a new state-of-the-art library and open space, those costs would similarly be significantly reduced. So an overview of our next steps shows that we have 3 key tasks to complete. The first of which is to hire a full-service project management consultant team that has the demonstrated successful track record of delivering similar design-build projects for public agencies. They'll need to have the expertise in planning and design, public outreach, financing, project controls, which involve cost and schedule control, construction management, operations, and commissioning, amongst others. We're preparing that request for qualification now and expect to bring that contract award to council in spring of 2025. Subsequently, the downtown Burbank transit-oriented development specific plan and its environmental impact report are estimated to be in front of the council for approval in summer of 2025, which will clear the path for the release of the request for qualifications for design-build services. That qualifications-based selection will likely feed 3 teams into the request for proposal stage and the award of a contract to a design builder in summer of 2026. The IOB, you will have the opportunity to participate in the development of the project and will receive updates during design and construction. You will, of course, review the project sheet with us in the upcoming February and March meetings as part of the upcoming fiscal year capital improvement program development process. And I certainly anticipate the board having an active role in certain stakeholder and outreach activities within the actual design build process. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you so much. Let me open the floor. Who has any questions?
I have a quick question.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Just briefly, could you explain, you said that the number of parking spaces would be reduced after, I didn't quite hear all of that. Could you repeat that for me and clarify? Thank you.
So the word would be potentially, because the number of parking spaces slated now is kind of based on an older study. And as you know, the city and the state really looking at, in simple terms, getting people out of their cars and the housing mandates that we have, we expect, the parking demand to be down, but that's not for sure. It's definitely a, easy value engineering way to reduce the cost of this project, because subterranean parking is very costly. So we're kind of looking at 2 levels now. If we could even cut that in half and make it 1 level, that could be a significant reduction in cost. But yeah, it's all a hypothetical right now, but the stars, shine on, hopefully it's being reduced.
If I may.
Chair, if I may, just a quick housekeeping item. Just wanted to mention for the record that the staff member providing the presentation and answering the QA right now is our own Director of Public Works, Ken Berkman, for the folks who are following at home.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney, Senior City Attorney Kane Twin. Appreciate it.
So I wanted to just make a quick comment on what you said regarding the housing opportunity zone, or the housing opportunities around the potential site. Just thinking about how, I know we're trying to reduce the carbon footprint, and we're trying to move to transit-oriented travel, but knowing that we're also expecting revenue in the city, I'm hoping that maybe we reduce the costs on the library project, but we allow the housing to hopefully provide for their own parking, so that we don't get such a, it will cause traffic with people wanting to park at their homes, and then we do want people that are coming into the city to enjoy the great amenities that we have here to be able to have a parking space. Just something to consider.
Yeah, thank you, Member Coronado. We have that all tied into the specific plan that community development is working on right now. So who, what, where, when, why of the development, and how this whole area, along with the other 3 specific plans that they're working on, will be developed in all modes of transportation, is definitely in the forefront and focus of those specific plans.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned that there was a Phase 1 report performed on the project. Was there any indication that a Phase 2 would be required?
So that's the one of the key activities that our full-service project management firm would be doing. So the Phase 1, would be included in any design build package for procurement. So we would be looking for our PM firm and the design builder to determine if we need the Phase 2. But from what I'm seeing from a Phase 1, I don't think the Phase 2 would be required. But the downtown specific plan also has its own EIR with that, so we'll be crossing that bridge when we get there.
Okay, thank you. And then with regard to the reduction of parking, I would also just agree that, these new housing opportunities being in such close proximity, specifically to our police and fire department, the reduction of parking, people have a habit of double parking or parking on the street, and our police and fire station, I believe, exits onto Orange Grove Avenue. I think the police station, their vehicles exit onto that street. So just wondering if the city is going to take into consideration any traffic impacts to that building and its uses.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Definitely, they also exit on Palm. And again, as part of that specific plan, and the traffic impacts are definitely something that has to be reviewed. And also the, what was the other question? Yeah, oh, so that parking, I want to make sure the parking study is still being completed as well by CDD. So that'll shed some light on the actual needs in the downtown area.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Jean, do you, oh, sorry, Member Schomburger.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Berkman, for the presentation. I had come in late on the city council presentation, and so I sort of was trying to put together the pieces. I didn't have a chance to hear the beginning, so I was trying to put together the pieces of what changed here. Could I trouble you maybe to put up the slide of the conceptual site plan again and just sort of graphically what is in scope now?
So the new open space, that's that approximately 50,000 square foot area. That is where the administrative services building is now, so we'll take that down. The new central library adjacent to it, that's our 65,000 plus the 20,000 square feet of office space to house the folks who were in ASB in the administrative services building. And those are the two main pieces. So the three housing opportunity sites, those are future, and obviously in the blue is the existing facilities that remain.
Great, thank you. So I'm sure there will be a lot of discussion and thoughts about this, but so for example, that parking lot is where the farmers market is held weekly. It's where the Rose Parade float for the city is displayed after the parade. Theoretically, those would shift to the open space, or any preliminary thinking on that?
Yeah, for sure. They would definitely be considered to be put into that open space area. And that's why I wanted to always make sure when I said open space, it's not on the graphic, but it's always functional open space. You know, there could be certainly farmers market area, there could be an amphitheater, there could be, yeah, or not an amphitheater, but, you know, some theater seating and other things at the community. And that's the beauty of the project, and with the design build and getting stakeholder and public input early, we can see what we want to do in that area and make sure we accommodate as much as we can.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit more about the existing central library, the 1963 one that is one of the housing opportunity sites. So there's some architectural significance to that as one of the unusual examples in Burbank of mid-century modern architecture at the time, and it was designed by an architect who was well known for designing libraries. So it has a bit of a pedigree in the architectural world. So couple of parts to the question. What will happen to it in the near term once the new library is constructed and presumably the library services move out of it? And is there anything in scope right now considering preservation of that?
So the good thing about this project is we're going to be able to actually build the library that we've been talking about for so long. And it's good to bifurcate that. And it's equally important to make sure, which we are, that our housing opportunity sites are going to happen and that housing construction is going to happen. There are definitely thoughts that how are we going to potentially, like you're saying, maybe preserve part of that library and build housing at the same time. All of that will be flushed out in that specific plan that we're developing. So I couldn't answer the question right now, but your thoughts are being echoed within staff.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, I, excuse me, I actually spent some time on the library board, and this was a project that we talked about almost every single meeting. And so just a couple quick thoughts and questions. I went on a tour once of the Central Library as it is now, and I think what stunned me the most is how much space is used that the public has no access to. It's behind the walls, it's behind everything. There are offices, there are conference rooms, there are all kinds of things, and I don't think people really realize how much space in that building is unused. And so for me, the opportunity to have this new library number one, to bring us up to date on technology and uses of space, because space can be used in so many different ways. But also, there's a lot of discussion as part of this of having it be the center, a civic center, the center of the downtown. And so I think it's really important for people to realize that besides all the wonderful things our library provides for the community, this is a great opportunity to provide things above and beyond that for the community. Like you say, an amphitheater or a garden area, or, space that people could pay a fee and rent if they want to have a book club, if they want to have any type of meetings. So the opportunities are endless. Also, there's a whole revolution going on, not just in the United States, but around the world, about what are libraries for? Who do they serve, beyond just books and checking things out and the wonderful things that we do right now? And to have architecture that supports all different kinds of activities. The Sparks Lab was the beginning of that, to have people have access to a 3D printer, to learn about technology, and we can expand on that in so many different ways. So I just want to make sure that part of the discussion here is that to understand that this is really a step forward into this century in terms of what libraries can and should provide for the community. So having said that, so at that point, when I was looking at it in the prior role, they had the 3P and they had apartments above the library and so on, and that's been taken away. But with the staff from library services and the library and the staff that will be moving in, how many floors do you think that primary building would be?
I'm not sure right now, but we've thought of about 3 maybe, because we need the office space as well. So that's something that certainly our design build procurement's going to tell us, and our project manager firm will help with outreach and talking about what we generally want in this library building, which we already have with the vision study, but we're going to continue to refine it to make sure those who bid on it know exactly what they should be putting in their qualifications, and then subsequently their proposals. So it's an ongoing development process.
Okay. And then on the topic of parking, right now our central library has basically no parking. It has the two tiny lots. So whatever is added and beyond that is terrific. But I'm thinking about the staff who are going to be working in that building, and chances are commuting, using cars to go there, to make sure that we have enough parking for staff. So I just want to throw that out there while we're having discussions. It's not just housing and things like that. It's people who are going to be working there every day.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then the last thing is, let's see. In terms of public spaces, there was, I know that you've been doing the community outreach and so on, but yeah, one of the things I would be love to hear about as this proceeds is some of the ideas from the community about how to use that space that maybe are different than what we've seen or thought about. Just kind of stretching the boundaries a little bit about what we can provide for the community in that space.
Absolutely, and if the board could indulge me, I told this to the library board, and I'm really personally very excited to do this project, and I've been here, it's coming up on 5 years in April, and when I came here and I heard it's been 15 years in discussion, I said, hey, let's go, let's do it. And part of that is because, don't want really showing my age, but when I was a kid in the 70s, which our existing library is functionally obsolete. It kind of looks like that kind of time of the 60s. Had great memories. My mom was a big reader. I was a big reader. I would go to the library with her, and I just loved it. And it would be great to have this, as I've been saying, this generational project, a legacy project to bring Burbank into our current and then forecasting into our future century. It's an amazing opportunity for us. we really look forward, I know I speak for all staff and all departments, we're really looking forward to working with you and the public and all our stakeholders to create what we know is going to be just a beautiful, welcoming facility for all that's going to really have the state-of-the-art functionality and just be a great place that people are going to want to visit. We'll draw, like you said, into our civic center, into our downtown even better, even more. And certainly the housing is always going to be, it's just a little delayed, but think about the housing around this central wonderful facility. I can see it, and I'm excited to work on it with you.
And I mean, it would always be nice maybe have a little coffee cafe in there too. I'm going to throw that out.
And noted, absolutely noted.
Okay. Please go ahead. Oh,
Thank you.
Everyone's-
You said about the housing vision about in the future. Do we have like a forecast when this is going to happen in the future? In 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What's the?
If I knew that, I'd be investing and I wouldn't be here. So I don't know the real estate market, but we have, what I can say is we have a lot of units under construction now throughout the city. I would envision this, especially when developers see our downtown, see the improvements we're making in this area. It's going to be, to me, a very attractive site. The specific plan, once everybody sees that vision in the coming summer, I think that's just the launch pad for developers to say, hey, well, now that you've set the ground rules of how we develop and what you want built, I think we'll get a lot of activity. I would imagine applications for development to be coming in within a year.
The plan for those developments are to go through like a long-term lease or selling the properties to the developers?
That is to be seen, and that's more of a community development procedure and process, and Public Works Engineering and other departments always work through the planners and the planning division, so that's something that remains to be seen, but all options are open.
Just a recommendation for the Citibank. Was that Citibank? The corner of Glenoaks and Orange Grove, the abandoned building.
Oh, the Wells Fargo?
Yeah, Wells Fargo, sorry.
Yeah.
If you can throw in some low-cost options in the program to at least convert that area to an open parking lot during the construction, that would be also beneficial to whoever is using the area during the construction.
Yeah, for sure, thank you.
Member Hoffmeister, did you have a question?
Thank you. Question about the library. I mean, it's obviously it would be a very big building, and there's lots of excavation, and the parking would be under the library. Is that correct?
Right, at this time, the cost that you see is for 2 levels of subterranean.
So 2 levels of subterranean, then how many levels for the library at this point?
To me, I'm thinking it's 3.
Okay, that was kind of what I'm guessing. Is there any, are you looking into like geothermal energy for this building, since there's so much excavation that's going on? Could be a very efficient way to heat and cool a building, and it kind of goes hand in hand when you dig down into the earth that deep, that it's a system that could be implemented. I don't know a lot about it. I've read a little bit about it. It's an interest of mine, but just curious.
No, it's a great point, and it's a great piece of advice, and it's something that I know that we would be looking at for what I'm saying is a full-service project management firm that has every level of expertise that we need, and that's the way I'm writing the request for qualifications. If you remember that bullet from the vision study, we want to be a leader in sustainability at all times, and certainly with this building. I know council is interested in getting, say, the highest LEED certification, which is platinum. We're certainly looking at gold. Our project management team would help us define the cost and benefits of that, because there's a cost increase for every level you go up. And everything, as I just said on the housing, everything's on the table, and we want to be as economically and sustainable as we can be.
Great.
Just a couple more questions, Mr. Berkman. The RFQ you're preparing right now, could you give us a little more granularity on the process for that and when it would be either publicly available or if this board would have any opportunity to give input to that?
This board will not give input into that. That's at my staff level to do, and I wouldn't feel comfortable putting out a schedule as of right now. But I would think I'm shooting for a release of mid to late January.
Could it trouble you as a follow-up to that when it is released and publicly available, could you update this board to let us know that it's out there to look at?
Oh, sure. Yeah, through our recording secretary, I'll email you guys.
Terrific, thank you. And I guess my bigger question is, what is the financing plan to reach something in the neighborhood of $147 million?
All options are open, so we're going to figure that out.
Thanks.
Okay, so that
I'm
leaves,
sorry, Madam Chair. I do want to point out for everybody, we will definitely continue to seek grants, and I always know the closer we get into design and towards construction, the more attractive this major type of project would be for grant funding. So we're going to continue to look at that.
thank you. And then, so that leads me to the question, how much cash on hand do we have right now for the project?
You will find that out coming up in February when we review that project sheet. But that project sheet from last year, if I'm remembering right, has 132 million dedicated to it. So each year, as this board knows, we go through all the departments, go through their project sheets, and we update project descriptions, project schedules, the budget, and if any projects need additional money. I have a note, and I still can't remember it, but I think continued is when we have projects that are not asking for any additional funding. Ongoing projects are the ones that will come back to you for review that are asking for additional funding, in this case, for 2025-26. So you will be getting full reports on it.
So we've been saving up for quite a while on this, and so we
Yes,
have,
there's
we have a
definitely
nest egg.
dedicated money. There's council-approved, a board and council-approved money in this fiscal year, certainly for the award of our project management contract.
Right. So we're not starting from scratch on that huge number.
No.
We've got some cash now for that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Just want to make sure that's clear for everybody. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you so much for the presentation. We're all very excited and can't wait to see how it progresses.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay. So introduction of additional agenda items. Anyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Chair, staff doesn't know this either, but we could write it down. I thought we would do a capital improvement program update for the first and second quarters of this fiscal year for you like we did last year. So we'll give an update on all the fun work that we're doing for our current capital program. And that'll be for January.
Terrific. Anyone else?
An idea based on this terrific presentation and the momentum that the library project is getting, would staff consider a standing agenda item, even if it's a very brief update on what's happening with this project? Or every 2 meetings, or just to sort of plan ahead some cadence?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is yes. It could go on the agenda. I would put forth through the chair to the board, maybe quarterly would be appropriate. And like I said, you will all definitely be hearing the details and have the opportunity to see exactly what we're doing in February and March. So if we set it up for, a July, October January, April kind of thing. That could work. Would that be acceptable?
I think quarterly would be terrific.
Okay.
And that inspires me to throw out another idea. I mentioned that many years ago I went on a tour of this current library. Would that be something perhaps in the spring, after we've done all our budgeting and required activities, perhaps we could have another field trip and just show everyone how the library functions and meet the library services director and so on?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. And thank you for bringing that up. We have a new library director who started this Monday, so I'm sure he would love to have you guys attend and meet you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Do we have any pending agenda items? Nope. Terrific. Okay. If that is that, then thank you for this very brief but very informative meeting. And everyone have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year, and we'll see you all next year. So thank you so much.